Hi guys, and welcome once again to Curated Logic, where we try and up your brain game. Today, we are doing another good old review, and I must say, the first time I saw this game in the Nintendo Switch store, I was skeptical. The graphics looked a bit cheap, and there was nothing in the synopsis that really grabbed me apart from the actual name of the game. But then I watched the trailer. The trailer reminded me of an old point-and-click game series I used to love called Hugo. These were not the most groundbreaking games in the world, and were not always the most logical, but they were always fun, so I decided to embrace my nostalgia and give this game that reminded me of that time a go. That game's name was The Darkside Detective. As a precursor to this review, let me say one thing. I did not hate this game. You may feel from the rant I'm about to go on that I did, but there are definite positives that I will get to after wading through that which I did not like. So don't stop the review halfway through and dismiss the game, because dismissed it should not be. The Darkside Detective follows Detective Francis McQueen, who, along with his partner, Officer Dooley, is in charge of investigating paranormal matters. They are the Darkside Division. The two policemen must do things like banish ghosts, locate Bigfoot, and even defeat an evil Santa, things that are suitably creepy. And like every good point-and-click game, the way they do this is by going to the area they are investigating, finding everyday objects they need to get into much harder to enter places, and solve the mystery. It is a premise that can work so well, but like so many other point-and-click games before it, the Darkside Detective falls into a terrible trap. The way the story and the objects one must find are presented, the game really presents no challenge. It basically spells out for you what you need to do in each level. So much so that the game very quickly felt like it was made for kids specifically, rather than adults. But then, the sense of humour the game has is definitely for adults in points. So I don't think that is necessarily the case. The lack of difficulty flowed through to the minigame type puzzles the detectives would encounter every so often. I love minigames within a video game. Things like Chocobo racing in Final Fantasy VII, the whole premise of Mario Party. You want to sell the game to me, say it includes a variety of minigames, and I am there. But in the Darkside Detective, almost all of the mini-games the player has to solve take little thinking, and although I was excited by the possibility of them at the beginning, by the end they didn't add anything to my experience. Also, like I have mentioned in other point-and-click games I have reviewed, the going back and forth from location to location can be a real bore, and I think it is imperative for a point-and-click game to try and alleviate this repetitiveness to an extent. But as the game progressed, going back and forth only felt like it happened more and more frequently, like a way of extending out the gameplay. Even with all this, however, perhaps the most frustrating thing about this game is something that is frustrating overall in these types of games, and that is the strange combining of objects in your inventory to make a new object that is employed in a way that really defies logic. Now, I know these games aren't meant to follow strict logic, and they are meant to be a bit wacky, but there were times when solutions were so out of the box that all you could do was try every option available and see which one stuck. This is not a fun way to play a game, especially when there are logical ways of achieving your goal that the game does not allow. Also, sometimes the game was just way too verbose. I don't need everything that is said to be relevant, but some of the side stories and conversations were so long, and God forbid you accidentally click the same response again and have to go through it one more time. For all these negatives, as I said before, I did not hate this game. For all aspects that I felt lacking, there were aspects that really endeared me to this game, to the point where I would want to try out other installments or projects by the same company. Despite initially being uncertain about them, the music and aesthetics I ended up really loving. Thank you, nostalgia, my old friend. And to be fair, there were some puzzles that were kind of fun. Also, although logic generally makes me have a large aversion to conspiracy theorists, I actually ended up walking away with a little crush on Officer Dooley. This was magnified by the relationship and banter between the two policemen, which is so nice and quirky that it could not do anything but make me happy. In fact, this aspect of the game was so strong that it almost makes you forget about the things that you are not enjoying as much. Almost. But in the end, it is the negatives that drag the score down rather than the positives pulling it up. And because of this, the final score I give the Darkside Detective is a 6 out of 10, with a logic level of 2. As I said, I probably will play the next installment when it comes out in the hope that which needs to be fixed is, but I will not hesitate to stop playing after the first case if I feel this has not been done. If you want to continue upping your brain game, follow Curated Logic on any of the socials listed below, or you can support us through Patreon, which is also linked below. I hope wherever you are in the world, you are keeping safe and happy. Until next time, keep upping your brain game and have fun. See ya.